Okay, so we are going to get started on our third round implementation for the summoner. As always, for those in Discord, if you have any questions at any time, feel free to just pop in chat and ask. I don't much pay attention to the written chat, so feel free to hop in voice if you feel comfortable doing so. Otherwise, I'll try and respond to stuff a little bit later. So, a couple of things we're going to try and do today. We're actually going to go backwards a little bit because I made a few changes to the back end support to make things a little bit easier. Some of them I'm going to show you, and some of them I'm just going to say. One of the things that we did is in the last stream, I noticed that a lot of the summons still had malice abilities being listed for them, so I stripped those out on the back end so you shouldn't see them anymore. The other thing that we've done as well is added a few additional support items that I am going to go over. So the very first thing is I think we need to make a bunch of changes to call forth to really get that to work very well. So yeah, we're going to try and get call forth to really work really well here to where you can actually make choices in the character builder of the signature minions that you want and the heroic minions that you want, and it should charge the ability correctly and have just a better overall experience. So I'm going to cover a lot of those changes that we implemented. All right, so we're going to go into our character class. Right now, we have the call forth actually in the subclasses for the summoner. I think we don't need that. So I'm going to strip it out and actually put it in the main summoner class. And the reason for that is I have added support so you can manually, through options in the builder, set which signature minions you actually have and the selections and everything like that. So I'm going to show you how to get that set up real quick. And then we'll actually move call forth and do all that type of work. So for call forth, every single subclass gains a specific signature minion, as well as you can make selections of different minions. What we've done, I'm actually going to go back real quick. We have added a custom attribute called signature summons. And I'm going to add a heroic one here in just a second. This custom attribute actually uses a type called creature sets. Pretty much every other one that we've ever used is a number. Creature sets is basically a attribute that you can constantly add creature information to. I've expanded that support just a little bit to make this feel really robust for the summoner class, though. Let's go ahead and get this going, though. So what we can do is right now we are in the Circle of Storms. We are going to create a new feature for them, and we are going to name this their signature. Let's actually find that in the PDF here. So we need to find the Circle of Storms signature. Here we go. So they gain an elemental portfolio signature minion. So I am just going to take this and we'll call our feature that. Copy. There we go. And what we need to do is we're going to add a modifier, and this modifier is going to be a modify attribute because that's the custom attribute we just looked at. I'm going to find my signature summons, which is right here. And you can see it changes the actual editor here. There's no longer an input box. There's a value, which is currently a list of different types of monster. It's mostly built off of the character races that are available in game. What I've done is I've added one called a bestiary filter. This works very similar to the bestiary filter in the existing summon behavior. All I need to do with this is I can just provide it information and it will automatically add it to a set list that's attached to this creature that we can then use later on to say everything that's in this list that's called signature summons, make that available to this character to summon. So all I need to do is I'm going to say beast, which is a special goblin script for bestiary filters. I'm going to say their name equals elemental note, And because I know that there is an elemental note that is a regular monster, I'm going to add that it is a beast with a keywords. Oh, keywords. And it has summoner. So that way I can add a keyword to this beast to make sure it's picking the correct elemental mote. So all I'm going to do is hit confirm. And now what will happen whenever a summoner picks the Circle of Storms subclass, they will automatically gain this feature and it will give them an elemental mote added to their overall signature summons list. I'm going to put that as gold now. So I'm going to go ahead and copy Call Forth because I don't want it to exist within the subclass anymore. I actually want to steal it and put it in the regular class. So let's go ahead and copy it. I'm going to go back to Summoner and let's do. Oh, I had a. Yes, yeah. uh, So for the recording, someone in chat was just saying that the elemental subclass is slightly different than the other summoner subclasses, where the elemental one gains a specific signature summon as well as one additional choice, whereas the other ones just have two selections. I'm going to get rid of my old call forth because who needs that? Okay, so I've copied the call forth into the regular summoner class. I probably should fix this description. No, that's the right. Never mind. That's the correct description. We're going to edit this, and we are going to go into our effects. And I don't need this bestiary filter to be specific for the elemental mote anymore. What I can do instead is I have added a special goblin script now where what I can do, the subject of this input is me, the caster, or the summoner is the caster. I can actually look up their creature set of signature summons. And there is a special function now. Oh, is it not going to do? Oh, let me make sure I did this correctly. There is a special function for it where I can actually say matches and just send it the beast information. Maybe I hid it. I might have not exposed it to the autocomplete editor and description information yet. That might be something I need to fix. But let me just see. Yeah, let's test this real quick. So we have our summoner here. Right, because I forgot to delete call forth out of the subclass. Let's see. Ah, there we go. So because I only, let me actually go back in here so I can explain this a little bit more better too. So in call forth, because the summon matches, so what it's doing is it's saying search our signature summons, which is a creature list, and see if there's anything that matches any beast in the bestiary. And so since there's only the one, it will automatically pick that one for us. If I had other ones, it would allow us to pick pick from a list. A few other improvements that I made to this, I have added a checkbox for summon share heroic resources. And that's primarily so when a summon has like a death trigger that requires HR usage, they can just use the summoner's HR. A little bit of a workaround, but that way it feels like the summon is actually causing the trigger to happen. You click on it on their character, and then it still uses your heroic resource, which would be essence for the summoner. I have also added a drop down or a checkbox here for choose placement for each creature. So currently, the way Call Forth works is I click it and it says, where do you want this monster to go? And that works pretty okay when there's only one monster. But once you start to have multiples, you click one spot and then they all just sort of pop up around it. But as one of the things we talked about at our last stream, that's not actually how it works. You can place them wherever you want within your summoner range. So what I've done, I have, wrong one. I'm going to go up to summoner. I have added a checkbox. So instead, what happens in a summon creature's behavior, I can hit choose placement for each creature, and it will create a range input where I'll put my summoner's range. So what will happen is instead, I don't need to pre-pick the location of the summons. This will pick it for me. So what I need to do to make this all work really well, I need to change the targeting of the ability because otherwise it will keep having me pick a location somewhere on the map. So I'm going to change this to self. We'll keep it there. Yep, that's correct. Self. And yeah, actually, let's just copy this. I need this input right here, the 1 plus charges, so that way you can summon more than one creature. So let me just copy it, go here. How many summons can we do? It is 1 plus the charges. So let's see if this is working. And let me actually delete Call Forth out of the subclass because I shouldn't need it anymore. All right, let's see if this works because I literally just implemented this earlier today. So, oh, I don't have any essence. So let me give myself some essence. So this can work. Okay, I'm going to summon 3 signatures. Let's make a new squad. Okay, great. Okay, so place minions, 1 of 3. Oh, I should move this so it's down as opposed to up. So I've made a new sort of selection input now where basically you can place them. I'm going to put 1 here and 1 there and here. So now we have a minion squad, and they were placed anywhere within our summoner range because I checked that box within the behavior. Let me go back here to see what else I should do. The other thing I did is I made it so, and this is going to get a little bit in the weeds. I actually should show you the other. So, and I realize not everyone here was a part of our stream yesterday, so maybe I should just explain where I'm going really quick. So what I've done is that we are using 2 different what are called ability variations, where we have our basic one, which is a signature summon. That's what created those little boxes at the bottom of the screen, which I'll show you again in a second. And then we also have all other monsters, which is the next box I could click on. When I click on that box, it uses this ability variation, which is this has ability check, creates this edit box right here. This is a fork in the ability. So once it gets to this point, you click on this box, the ability is always going to use this fork of this edit ability instead of anything else. So this is going to be for like our heroic summons, right? So what we want to do with this, I don't want to do empty space. I want to do self, just like we did earlier. And now for the effect, what I've done, and you can see I was testing this earlier. What I've done is I've made the information of the creature that you summon available to these input boxes. So now if I enter just summon, this means the specific monster that is being summoned as part of this. So now I can actually grab the summon, the specific monster, and their summon number, right? This was a custom attribute we showed up yesterday. So now this is a Goblin script variable that can be set on individual monsters. Once I make a selection, it should automatically grab the correct number that we need. I'm going to turn on choose placement. It should be the summoner range. Yep. The filter needs to be I have to make a new one for it, don't I? It's going to be let's go back here. I need to create a new custom attribute because we already have one that's signature summons. So now I need to make a creature set that is heroic summons. So let's do that. So we'll call it heroic summons. When you change it to a creature set, I'll add documentation later. I don't know exactly what I want to say about it, but we have a new creature set. So let's go back to our, oh, no, not there. Go back to our class, our summoner. Go back to call forth. Going to go back to the fork and back to our effects. So now in this bestiary filter, what I want to do is I want to call that heroic summons because that's the creature set. Heroic summons. I want to say dot matches, and I'm going to put in the beast. All this other stuff is correct. I need it. I choose the type. All creatures are the same. I control them group. They use my surges. They use my heroic resource. The other thing I need to do is because the ability cost is variable, depending on which one you select, I need to make this respond to the cost of the summon. So just like the summon information up here, which is the specific monster you pick, it's available in future behaviors, right? It's only available in behaviors that come after this one. It is available in future ones, so I can actually use a replenish resource behavior, which I can set to expend resources. And what I can do, oh, I should change this to target myself, not the targets, is I can actually expend resources and I can say expend how much the summon, the specific monster, their summon cost is -1. And the reason I do -1 is just because call forth costs 1 from the jump, right? It just cost 1. So I -1 to make sure it balances out. So now if I do this, and I'm going to close out, in theory, when I click on this, it's not going to do anything because I actually don't have any heroic summons. Yeah, did nothing. So what we want to do is we're going to go to our subclass because that's where we pick our heroic summons. Let's go to Circle of Storms. Where? Right. We've already set up a choice here, which I'll actually show you how to do in just a second. Because this is all information that was already here when we worked on the play test for this. I can create a choice, which is how the builder will know there's a choice. You can do that by saying add features choice, right? That's what creates this box, all this information. And then for each choice, I can just add a feature to it, which is all this crux of ashes, flow of magma. They're just a single feature. And then I can say how many choices you get to make, which is 2. So since I already entered flow of magma, why don't we go in here? Again, this is old work from when we did the play test for it. I'm actually going to get rid of it. We don't need a specific call forth for it. What we want is to go modify attributes. We're going to go heroic summons. Yep. And we are going to select the value as a bestiary filter. Awesome. And then we're going to say beast.name equals flow of magma. I don't think I need to use a keyword here because there's no other monster that uses flow of magma, but just for being safe, I'm going to still use the keywords. So that way it knows it's a monster with this name specifically tagged with summoner. So let's hit confirm. Let's go back out here. Let's go to our summoner token. We're going to go into the builder, go the summoner. All right, let's go. Oh, I already have it selected. Well, so I'm here in my call for 3 essence. I'm going to pick flow of magma. So in theory, let's see if I did this right. Hey, we did. Look at that. So what happened is it automatically knew because the setup of flow of magma has already had input in it the summon cost, or I'm sorry, the summon number. It knew that I get to summon 2 of them. Let me actually just double check that I'm not a liar and that that is the correct number and it's not just straight up broken. Yeah, here we go. So our flow of magma is here. So it has a cost of 3 essence for 2 minions. So it automatically knew that it needed to summon 2 of them, and it expended 3 essence because that was its cost. And did it actually expend the 3 essence? It did. Yep, it set it from 3 to 0. So I think that that's working pretty well. Oh, this guy's stuck up here. That bug needs to go away. So I think that's working pretty well to help us get everything else set up into the future. We still have to add support for when you use a heroic ability or when you summon, you can kill your existing summons to lower the cost. We still need to add support for that, but that's sort of a global rule we'll add as opposed to needing to do it with each individual ability. So we'll worry about that later. What else? What else should we do here? I'm just gonna look at my implementation notes here to see because there was some stuff I'd flagged that I needed to redo. But if anyone has any questions while I'm looking at my notes, just let me know. Yeah, absolutely. One 100%. And sorry, I'm eating dinner while you're talking. 100%. The one of the main reasons we wanted to do this stream is to show you that like when we the devs implement classes, It's sort of a core part of our just how we do things, that we don't want any class to be implemented in a way that like you, a user, wouldn't also be able to implement it. So any backend work we do, we always make sure it ends up being user facing, so that way you could anything we can implement, you can implement. Exactly. Yep. So you're watching us do it live. So basically, every time we stream, I find small tweaks or bugs or issues, and so after we end, I go and add the support we need for it. Um, so that way, it's yeah, all user facing. So that question, I realized I didn't mention this earlier for the recording. Someone just asking a few questions in the chat. So the question is like, where can we find documentation for Goblin script? So there is the wiki site, which I can pop in the chat unless someone else already has for me. Um, let's see if I can find it here. So the one thing with the website wiki documentation is that we sort of have the opinion that rapid implementation is more important than documentation right now. So we're a little behind on a lot of this. Uh, well, let me find it here. Here's the wiki. There's the wiki, and is it here? No, that's just the general one. Where's the Goblin script? Here we go. I'm gonna pop in this room chat the Goblin script uh, documentation. The other thing that you really want to do is make sure that you're using the Goblin script head here and looking at the formula documentation, because the very important thing to know, every single input is not necessarily unique, but they each have the specific subject in a specific context. So a subject is like the creature that applies to. The vast majority of time that subject is just like us, like our character, but occasionally it will be the target or the person causing a trigger to happen. So when you click on the formula documentation, it says right here, like self is this. That's the subject of this input. The other thing is that there's a context of the input, which is that, like I was mentioning earlier, where I said like the summon behavior. Once a summon behavior happens, then information about the summon becomes available. That's contextual. So there is certain inputs where, like when triggers happen, they receive context about what caused the trigger. That context isn't available in any other input because there's no trigger happening. Like triggers are the only ones that get the context of a trigger happening. So those are my two pieces of like just information I always want everyone to keep in mind when they're working with Goblin script. It's very robust. It's a little complex, but it is written or attempted to be written in such a way that like you should be able to figure it out with time and effort and trying. You're very welcome. So the thing that I missed in my notes is on the very first stream that we did, I entered our heroic resource checklist, which is what makes these right here pop up, which are how we gain heroic resources at the start of combat or at the start of our turn. I entered the information for them, but I don't you go there. I in no way entered any of the actual functionality. Everything that's in here is just visual information. There's no like nothing actually does anything in it. So what I need to do is I need to go into Essence here. Technically, I could go anywhere. It doesn't really matter where I go. But what I need to do is I need to use another modify attribute. And I actually need to set an attribute called heroic resource gain at start. This is what sets our start of turn heroic resource. I need to set it to 2 because that is what the summoner gains. Um, the other thing I need to do is to actually create triggers to have these things happen. This is the actual functionality of these things. So let me go triggered ability here. This is to make a trigger. We are going to name this Essence Start of Turn. It does happen on ourselves. When does it happen? Not always. It happens when we're in combat. Don't need any conditions. I need to set this triggering to a specific thing called automatic heroic resource setting. Again, triggers can have lots of different reasons they need one of these. So occurs automatically and prompt are the most common ones. Automatic and local means that it will happen automatically as long as it's on our machine, or will happen automatically on our machine. Prompt remote auto local means that if it's a trigger that should let someone else do something, it will prompt them, but if it's on our machine, it will be local. Prompt means everyone gets a prompt. Automatic heroic resource setting means that there is a setting in the global Codex settings if you want to have your heroic resource gains be automatic where you never have a trigger pop up, or if you want them triggered. So we have all heroic resources use this, so that way a director can change what they want it to be. So we're just going to call this uh, I don't think I need a prompt text for that. I think it, and yeah. So we're just going to go to find the trigger for start of turn. It doesn't take an action. It doesn't, yeah, none of this matters. Self, self, self. Yep. All right. So we want to add a behavior. We're going to do replenish resources. It's okay to leave this apply to as targets because the targets are whatever is targeted right here. And since it's ourselves, that's us. I could change this to caster, so it's just forcibly always us, but again, it doesn't matter because we're already the only creature tech selected. And we need to do our heroic resources. We replenish them, yep. I need to select from here the resource checklist that I entered and just showed you that was visual information only. So let me see. Oh, I probably need to name it summon. Oh no, there it is. Okay, it auto adds it. I thought I had to enter. Okay, so summoner start of turn. This way, the system knows when this replenish resource happens and needs to check against this checklist to see if it's already been used or not. So we're going to do this. This quantity needs to be a variable, which is our what was it again? It was gain. Uh, heroic resource at start. Yeah, heroic resource gain at start. That's what I wanted in here. And then we will call it yeah, we'll just call it start of turn. Just need essence in there. And then the other thing I need to do is This should all work. I'm going to close out, and I need to put a usage limit on it so it only happens once per round. Otherwise, it would happen constantly. Yep. All right. So there's that one. Let's just check. So it has 2 down here. I don't know if you can see. It might be a little small, but it says +2 at start of turn. So let me claim the turn. Ah, perfect. So we got our 2 essence is. Yep, they're in the action log. It says start a turn, and it crossed them off over here. So that's how we get that functionality to work. Let me do the same thing for our start of combat. Go back to essence. I just need to make another triggered ability. This one is going to be once per encounter. And I'm going to call it essence start of combat. And I'm just, well, should spell correctly, shouldn't I? And we're just going to do the same thing again. So it's self, it's when in combat, it occurs on an automatic heroic resource. It happens when, is it draw steel or start combat? I think it must be draw steel. Yeah, draw steel. And then we're going to skip all this. Again, it's still ourselves, so we need to do another replenish resources. Set this to heroic resource. The checklist is still needed for summoner start of combat, replenish resources, and now I need to use victories as our quantity, right? Because you gain a number of heroic resources equal to the victories you have. And so we'll say start of combat as the chat log message. Yeah, I think we're good on that. So let me just end combat, give this bad boy some victories. We'll say 4, and let's see. I should assign him to the players. All right, let's see what happens when we draw steel. Wait, why are they non-combat heroes? Great. So we just gained 4 essence at the start of combat because we have 4 victories. And then if I claim my turn, I should get 2 more. Huzzah, we have 6. All right. So we've got that set up for our summoner. We did this. We fixed that. We fixed this. All right, I think we need to go back and fix strike for me. If you remember yesterday, if you're watching our stream, I had an issue where the opportunity attack was having this arrow pop up to say it should happen, but the trigger wasn't actually popping up. I fixed that. We had just been messing with it to get it to work for taunted and frightened, and it wasn't working super well. So got that fixed up here. So for strike for me, I'd already started to implement it, and it just sort of got bogged down in that other problem. So strike for me. If you remember, we have our triggered ability display that's just informational. We have our modify trigger, right? This actually will change a trigger that you gain. That when it happens, what happens here is it says a trigger, the trigger that's happening, search its rules text for free strike. And if it has the free strike in its rules text, it will pop up strike for me with this information, and then it has this has ability for something else to happen, which right now is just a roll. So that's how now this prompt that is the opportunity attack also has this option here for strike for me, which if I click, it pops up this roll dialog to roll, and I can accept it. It doesn't do anything because we haven't actually told it to do anything. So let's make it do something. We're going to go Summoner, strike for me. Let's edit this ability. All right, what do we need this bad boy to do? We need this guy to take no action. Yep, that's correct. Targeting is still ourselves. The effect is, oh, here's our roll dialog. And we have a manipulate targets. Yep, that is correct. So what we're going to do is we have our roll dialog where it's the ability roll. It's going to roll 2d10 plus our reason and get a result. It says up to 3 targets, up to 5, up to 7. As a reminder, we put our little hash here so that way the Codex knows to have this preview text pop up as white as opposed to gray. Is it going to change? No, I guess it's not auto-updating. But if I didn't have these here, this would turn gray, so that way users would know that it's not, the Codex doesn't fully know what it's supposed to do with it. I put the hashes in front of it so that way it knows that I'm going to forcibly override it. So what we have is we have this manipulate targets, which is how we can have a targeting dialog pop up. It says select minions as our prompt, and it replaces the targets because we need to get rid of ourselves. And let's go in here and see what we have so far. So what we have so far is, let's make this just say that it's bronze. Select any creature that's within our summoner range that has it lets us do 3, which is correct. We need to make this filter out any targets that aren't our own minions. So we do that by saying, well, actually, earlier I was saying that it's really important to know the subject and context of specific inputs. So if we look at the formula documentation for this target filter, it's going to tell us that the subject of this input is actually the creature being targeted, right? The creature in the abilities area of effect. It is a potential target. It is not us. It is no longer the caster in the same way other inputs are. So what I can do is I can just say the target, is it a minion? And does the minion summoner equal us, the caster? Which you can see it's auto-completing here. So it's going to say, is it a minion? And are we the summoner of that minion? And then and so now what we're going to do is that this targeting will just be us clicking on the minions. Then what we need to do is say, all right, so all of these minions get to make a free strike. And what I should actually do is pop the PDF back up and just remind us what it actually says. Here we go. All right. So it is, they make a free strike. It's not specifically melee or range. So it's just any free strike. So that's easy. All we have to do is that we're going to use a pretty advanced feature called an invoked ability. An invoked ability just means that, like, an existing feature or ability already does this thing. Like, it's already been created. Can we just utilize that? And so I'm going to take a bite of my dinner here real quick. There's a lot of things you can do with an invoked ability, but what we're going to do is one of the simpler things, which is that we're going to want all of our targets to make a free strike. So, excuse me. I definitely swallowed something down the wrong pipe. All right. We want each of these targets to make a free strike. So I think we can just search for free strike here. Let's see. I think we want to do make a free strike. There's a few different versions of it, and there's a reason for that. That's mostly it's a little pedantic, but we won't worry about it right now. And I want to make sure that we click the target player Well, actually, we don't. What this button does, target player cast, it means that the specific creature that you targeted, they are controlling the outcome of this invoked ability. Since it's your own minions and you want to control what they do, I'm not going to click it. But in theory, if you did this, like let's say you did it where you were clicking on your own allies and you had this checked, then their player would actually get the pop up to make a free strike. As opposed to if you don't have this checked, you will get the pop up to control the other player's free strike. Let's see if this is, well, actually, before we go back and see if it's working, what we want to do is actually close out of here. And I've only done this for the 3 target setup, right? Just a tier 1 result. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste the behavior. I'm going to make this one our tier 2 result. And it needs to be 5. So let me go in here and edit. Targeting is 5. And then we'll do the same thing again where I'm going to paste it. Set it as a tier 3 result. And then change it to 7, I think it was. Let's not worry about the effect portion just yet, where if you get a 19 or 20, all of your minions get to make it. Let's just make sure this is actually working before we get too far ahead of ourselves. Getting too far ahead of yourself is not. It's how you waste a lot of time. So we need to have this trigger happen again. It's going to say strike for me. We're rolling. We got 3. Let's see what happens here. Nada. Nothing happened. Awesome. All right. Let's figure out why. Why would nothing have happened? No, not the shadow, the summoner, please. All right, here we go. Strike for me. Free strip. This is all correct. We rolled. Oh. I think I need to set this to caster, actually. So it applies to us. Because the caster needs to select. Does that make sense? Well, we'll try it. I actually don't know. There's nothing sticking out to me as to why it wouldn't work. So let's just see. Oh, that was it. Yeah, I needed to apply to the caster. So I got a 7, so I get to select 3. It's telling me I can select 3 creatures. So let's just go this bad boy, that bad boy, and him. Well, the targeting worked correctly. Why would they not? Oh. No, the free strike just... Oh, I think this might be a part of the thing I mentioned that's a little pedantic about the differences between a few of the free strikes. Instead of saying make free strike, we actually, I think, need to just use free strike because make free strike is really for heroes where they like they're given the choice, like they have a prompt pop up. This one is promptless and doesn't really apply to like monster types. So let's see if I pick free strike if it does the right thing. My computer's going a little slow here. Here we go. All right, so let's try this again. Get another prompt. Strike for me. We're gonna roll. We're gonna override it to 3 because that's the only one I changed. You and you and you. Huh. I wonder why that would be the case. We might move on from this and just get the other portion of strike for me at least started. But I really thought that would work. You replace the targets, yep. Oh, that's why. I can't invoke an ability within this manipulate targets. Manipulate targets doesn't. I should change this on the back end. Manipulate targets implies that you can have effects within it, but you cannot. The only thing it can do is target. So I actually need to add the invoked ability here. Oh, that's the wrong thing. I didn't copy the invoke. Let's do the invoked ability again. The targets need to make a free strike. All right, let's see if that fixed it, and if not, we'll move on because I don't think it's fun to watch too much putzing going on. We'll just stick with these 3. Here we go. Okay, so this guy, you can see, kind of has the gray box around it. That's because this is the first one I clicked on, so they get to make a free strike. Boom. This guy, because he has a gray box, can make one. So go boom. And then this guy. Ha. Look at that. We're making progress here, y'all. Heal these guys back up. All right, what is the other thing? There's something else about strike for me we need to do, right? So it is okay. So right now we only have it set up to do a free strike. But it also needs to work if it uses a signature ability. So I think what we want to do is we're going to go here to the summoner. We'll go back to strike for me. No, that's not where I want to go. So the condition is right now trigger rules has a free strike. Let's say or trigger dot rules. No, I think I, there we go. Rules has signature ability. So in theory, if the rules text has free strike in it or the rules text has signature ability in it, this will be offered. Off the top of my head, I can't think of a specific existing trigger that I could test this with quickly, so I'm not going to bother with it. So we'll just come back to that later to like fully make sure that it's working. We'll say what do we have right now, y'all? We have the basic. We have our basic information, our heroic resources, our start of turn, all of our attributes. We have our recovery skills, our basic minions set up, our strike for me, summoner strike, call forth the minion bridge, and we didn't set up any of the formations yet. Um, oh, I know what we need to set up. We need to set up the start of turn. Let's see. There's this you summon minions at the start of each of your turns. Where is that rule? Feel free to shout it out if you remember what page the. Oh, you're perfect. Yes, start of combat and then start a turn. Perfect. All right, thank you, thank you. For the recording, chat's just calling out where what page I should be on. So we're here. Thank you. Um, so at the start of combat, you can summon up to 2 of your signature minions at no cost into unoccupied squares. All right, that's pretty easy to do. So let's hide that real quick. Go back to minions, because I think that's where all of our minion setup is. Scroll to the bottom. We're going to add a modifier. We're going to add a triggered ability display because I think I mentioned in a previous stream, we can set this up to be passive where it doesn't use an ability and it's just a description. I prefer to use these a lot for things that, while not technically triggered abilities, they're a trigger because I want to provide as much information to the user as to like why something is happening. So this is like something informational that will just exist on their character. So I'm going to copy the uh we're just gonna I think we'll just call this minions um at start of combat. It's a passive, and then I'm just going to copy the description out of the PDF. And again, I always complain about this. Copying out of PDFs is so annoying. You just have to fix the line break spacing they just are sort of inherently required to have. All right, so now we're going to add an actual triggered ability because that's just a display. That's just informational. We're going to add the triggered ability itself. This is going to be limited to once per encounter. Actually, I don't even need a limiter because it only happens on draw steal, so that's okay. We're going to name this minions start of combat. Ourself, yep, when in combat. It occurs, let's do a prompt. And the prompt is going to be you you can summon up to 2 of your signature minions. I probably should look at the rules ahead a little bit and see if this number changes. I presume that it does, so I probably should strip language from it that's like hard-coded to be 2. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm just going to strip it now. Let's see. So you summon your signature minions. There's no cost. Draw steel. Boop, 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 boop. Yes, yes, okay. And then what's going to happen is we're going to do a summon behavior, right? We're going to make this number. What are we going to make that be? We have all of our. We have our start of turn summons, but I don't think we have a start of combat one. So let's just make one start combat summon. So make this class specific. We'll call this start combat summon. It is 0. We're going to call this the number of signature minions you can summon at the start of combat. All right. Let's go back to our class here. Go summoner. Go back to minions. And we're going to add another custom attribute. This might be the class I've used the most custom attributes on. I don't think any other class has had this many custom attributes before. So we're going to use our start of combat summons. We're going to add 2 to it. So that way this number can increase at later levels if we want to. And our trigger is just going to use that variable, the goblin script number, as our start of turn summons. We're going to do placement, and that will be our summoner range. And it's a custom filter, and this needs to be our signature summons dot matches beast. And we just need to check all of these guys. Okay. Let's just double check that that's working. You'll see here we have our green. Oh, is it? Well, maybe that's a bug, or maybe I need a refresh. We'll see. But you can see here we have our like passive trigger that's informational. If I end combat and we start again, I don't know why he's ending up down here. Okay, so minions at start of combat. Let's make a new squad. Should it have been 3? Shouldn't it have been 2? Why did it let me do 3? I'm going to refresh real quick just because I feel like I'm getting a little bit of lag here. And I also feel like maybe I have too many minions out unnecessarily so right now. Yeah, I'm just gonna refresh real quick. It gives me a second to eat some more of my food. I wonder if my internet's going a little slow. Doesn't usually take that long to refresh, but here we are. Okay, let's see why. All right, so what we're going to do real quick, we're going to use a tool called the character inspector. The character inspector is really useful because it can let you check any variable, like goblin script variable, on a given creature. So I can actually scroll down to start of turn summons. Oh, well, that's weird. Why is it giving me? Oh, I bet you creature sets don't actually work in the. That's a different problem, though. That's not a problem for right now. Start of. Oh, am I just dumb? Did I type in the wrong thing? So did I type in start of turn instead of start of combat? I bet you I did, y'all. Minions. Draw. So when we start of combat. Yeah, that's what I did. I did start of turn instead of start of combat. That's why that happened. Great. Okay. So now when we start combat, that should actually be 2 instead of the 3. What I need to do now is add another trigger for our start of turn one, which is right here. It's at the 3. So we're going to add another trigger display. Passive. And what did I name the other one? Minions at start of combat. So we'll call this minions at start of turn. I'm going to copy this out of the PDF. And now we'll do another trigger. Go. And this will be minions at start of turn. This will be a prompt. I'm going to make a manual version of this one. I might make a manual version of the other one too, because if something ever happens where you like accidentally exit out of it, or like you hit escape, right, when you're trying to place your minions, like this will fully end. So I'm going to actually make both the manual versions. So there's something you can also click to forcibly do it as well. Um, so you can summon your signature minions at the start of your turn. Do that. We'll call it start of turn. Start of turn. Let's make sure this happens only in combat, though, just to add some more safeguards. No action necessary. All right, let's do our summon again. Another summon creatures. We want this to be uh, It was our summons. No, wait, what did we call this, y'all? It was summons that started turn. Yeah, start turn summons. Here we go. We'll do placement within our summoner range. And let's do our signature summons dot matches beast. I need to check all these again to make sure it's the correct setup for a summon. I'm going to real quick go back into this triggered ability to make sure it is also set up with a manual trigger. Hit confirm, come back out here. Okay, so the way those manual triggers work is that when you hit that checkbox to do a manual trigger, you have your normal trigger right here, right? These are all ones that just happen by themselves. This isn't clickable, right? Like these grayed out ones are just informational. They should happen by themselves. That's why they're here. These ones are manual triggers. I can click on them and it will happen. So let's do our start of turn one. Yeah, let's add. There we go. Yeah, we added them in. Cool. I think it makes sense to have these be here because I feel like there's gonna be lots of instances where you're just like, oh crap, I did something wrong and need to redo it. Of course. Oh, so like if you wanted to do less is the question, right? Yeah, here, let me. So, for the recording, the question was, what if you want to do less than the number, like an up to amount? I think that should still work. Let me just do here, and then escape. So I just escape out of it, and it will stop. We'll we will probably in the future add like a better visual controller, like down here at the bottom. But for now, we'll stick with our escape for now because it's just easier, more rapid implementation. But great question. Okay. What what base features do we not have implemented yet before we just get in the rigmarole of doing all of the minions for the subclasses? I think there's the formations, but those I think I need to add to support for still. Is there anything I'm missing? Quick command. We've done Minion Bridge, but we have a pretty, I would call it a poor man's Minion Bridge, where basically, I think it was in the first stream I talked about this, which was poorly recorded. It actually didn't pick up my audio at all. But what we did for Minion Bridge is does, it just says do your normal one, and it just says select the final square of your movement, which you can go outside this box. The reason we do this instead of saying click on a minion and then click on another one is we think that the user experience of like click once and then have another pop up and then click again and have another pop up and then click again and have another pop up is actually way worse than just saying click where you're supposed to go. We might revisit that. Um, but that's how Minion Bridge is going to work. It's basically just shifting you wherever you choose to go. Again, that's why I call it the poor man's implementation of Minion Bridge. Yes, there certainly is. Should we here, let's look at quick command first, just because it appears. Oh wait, we should do our circle. Well, we'll do our circle features when we actually get to our subclasses. We need to come back and do formations because a few of these I don't. Oh no, we can do some of these, can't we? Horde is your maximum number of minions increases by 4, and you summon up to 4 at the start of each of your turns. Did we already implement that? Because that one would have just been formation. All right, so Horde, I think we did already implement it. So you add 4 to your maximum. Your start of turn gets 1 additional. Yep. Okay, so that one's good. Platoon. Platoon, whenever one of your squads you use a damage ability, choose one target of that ability. Take additional damage equal to your reason score. I think we can implement that. I think the way it works. Let's see. I think we can do this. It's going to be a little slow though. So, we're going to use a trigger type called Power Roll trigger. Power Roll triggers are things that happen during a power roll. A power roll must be happening for these things to take effect. Obviously, there is instances where you might use a free strike and want to use your platoon formation. We'll have to do that as like a separate thing. This will be for like most other instances. So we're going to call this platoon formation. I'll just copy what's here for the rules text. All right. So this is not a triggered ability. It is passive. The target is not, it'd be an enemy. It is one target, not all of them. It's just one. And it's when they take damage. It'd be any damage type. And then the target, okay, so I think this is where I'd have to say the attacker is one of my minions. So we're going to go to the formula documentation here, which is taking a second to load. A long second to load, actually. Okay. All the way to the bottom. Okay. So I think it would be Triggerer, because it's the creature who triggered the ability, meaning one of our minions. So we want to say Triggerer. Yeah, let's try this. We'll say Triggerer dot Summoner, meaning the creature that triggered this, the person that summoned them is, and I need to double check. It's not caster. I think it's self. Maybe it is caster. So we'll see. Wait, maybe it's caster I want to use. Yeah, just self. Yeah, okay. I think it's actually caster. The caster dot summoner equals self, I think is what we want. We'll see. Is there any range to this? No. Platoon formation. I think I forgot to get rid of the PDF on the screen, didn't I? Platoon formation. Okay. Yeah, there's no range on it, so I think I'm just going to set it to 100 because that generally is good. So the way that power roll triggers work is like this beginning portion is actually what causes it to appear in the first place, which I'll show you what I mean by that in a second. And then this bottom part is what stays within the ability once it's modified for like the information about it. So all we need to do is say, I actually don't think I need to set the activation to always, but we will. We are going to do damage, and it's equal to your reason score. Okay, so I think it's just reason then. Full damage. Yep. Okay, let's see if this works. Yeah, we'll just set it for silver for now. Okay, so if I pick the builder here, let's pick our formation. We will do platoon. And then let's have one of the minions. I actually need a minion that has an ability. So we need to call a flow. Actually, I guess I don't need to stand next to him. Molten. Oh, it is a melee strike. Well, whatever. Let's see if this works. Okay, it does. So you'll see here, I need to fix this. It takes up too much space. So you'll see here it says platoon formation. This is the beginning section of that power roll trigger that I showed you, right? This is just saying, like, do you want to use this? So I'm going to roll my dice. I can come here and say, yes, I want to use my platoon formation. Cool. It adds it here. This is the actual modifier that's on now. Now that I've used the ability, this is the modifier that was the lower section of it. So then, although, is it actually adding my reason score? It might not be. I don't actually remember what the, well, you don't need to shift. What is the base damage? It is 6. Okay, so it's not actually adding the damage I want. Is that because our summoner has no reason? No, he has 2. So yeah, that's why I'm so for the recording, chat's recommending that it's probably because the minion has no reason. I think that is correct as well. That it probably is using the minion's reason as opposed to ours. Oh, no, I just didn't enter anything. Is that why? Let's just double check that the who the subject of this input is. Okay, yeah. The creature that is attacking is self for the script. So that is our minion. So we actually want well, let's do this. We're just going to say summoner dot reason because this should use the summon creatures. Like the summon creature is the subject. So if I say find the creature that summoned them and use their reason, this should work. All right, let's see if that works. No, it didn't. Okay. Why would that be? Let's go to our Goblin script debugger and just say summoner.reason and figure out why. Yeah, summoner.reason works there. It's not even pinging that box. Why would that be the case? Oh my gosh, why is it? I definitely entered. Am I having a desync? Am I having a desync issue? All right, let's do correct this. Summoner dot reason. Confirm it. Let's go back in here. Summoner dot reason. Okay. I'm going to fully restart the codex. I think I'm having some desync issues because unless y'all are like, no, you definitely didn't do it right. I don't know why that wouldn't have saved. So I was going to restart here real quick. So let's go ahead and exit out and see where we get here. All right, are we? I know you guys are just seeing a blank screen right now, but we'll be back up here in just a second. I'm going to have to turn this off though. All right. Hazen's in chat telling me that I shouldn't be using Start of Combat. I should call it Draw Steel. So I will go back and fix those triggers here in just a second. All right, let's see. Did this make a difference here? Formation, platoon, summoner reason. Okay. Let's try this one more time. Ah, there we go. 6, 8, 10. Yep, that is correct. So now we have the platoon one set up. That's great. What is our elite formation? Each of your minions have their stamina increased by 3 and their stability increased by 1. I know there's lots of ways to do that, and I'm actually not certain what the best way to do it is, though, because we could summon them and apply an effect to them, but that seems kind of lame. Hmm. I don't know. I might have to think about that one because I'm not sure what just like the best way to do it would be. So we'll come back to it. Quick command. All right, quick command. You have a special command you can issue to your minions. Use one of the following quick commands. You can change your quick command along with your formation by performing intense study as a respite. Cool. The target gains a surge for each of your minions adjacent to them, which they can use on the triggering damage. Okay. So we're going to make another power roll trigger. So we're going to go back to the summoner. We're going to go in here. We are going to make a choice because you have to choose one of these, right? Yep. Quick command is make a choice. So focus fire is one of those choices. So let's go ahead and hide that guy real quick. We're going to make a choice. It is called quick command. I am going to copy this description from the PDF. Here we go. I'm going to add some markdown to this, so that will be italics, and you choose one of them. So we have choose one, so the very first one is going to be focus fire. Focus fire. I pretty much always just use the flavor text in the description for this. All right. So the way focus fire reads, right? Focus fire is the target deals damage to another creature, and that target has to be yourself or one ally. You gain surges equal to the number of minions adjacent to them, and then maximum 3, which they can only use in the triggering damage. And then if you spend 1 essence, if the triggering damage is from an ability that uses the power roll gains. Okay. Okay. I always find power roll triggers to be a little difficult to set up if I'm being honest. So we're going to call this focus. Oh, actually, we should do a trigger display real quick. Because this is a triggered ability, so it takes an action. It is called Focus Fire. Its cost is technically 0 from the jump. You can choose to have it cost more. There's no keywords. Its range is your summoner's range. It's self or one ally. Flavor text. Oh, of course, I accidentally copied or deleted it, didn't I? All right, the trigger is the target deals damage. The effect, again, just copying this straight out of the PDF. And then there's also a special portion that we will just put straight into the effects box as well. And we'll use Markdown to make this bolded. Yeah, there we go. And now we'll do our power roll trigger. It is focus fire. The rules are I must use the trigger there, yeah. Okay. So it costs a triggered action. The target is self or an ally. It is one target, one other creature. Right. Yeah. And so it is when you deal damage, all damage type, and the range is your summoners. Wait. Oh, the autocomplete isn't working here. Okay. That's okay. Summoner range. Let's grab this part for this description. All right, so now what we're going to do is we have this trigger set up so that way um, when you or an ally deal damage to a target, this power roll trigger should be offered. If you choose to click on it, um, this will pop up, and the modifier needs to be um, that you gain surges based off of the number of minions adjacent to them. So we want to say count nearby friends, which this is called a function. So the Goblin script has a few things that are functions. So let me actually look up the documentation for count nearby friends so we can see that together. Uh, Here we go. So count nearby friends, creatures. It's all the same, right? They're all the same type of thing. They can take a range, and then they can take a comma, and then any series of just like things that are true about them, usually an effect or a type, etc. So what we're going to do is that we know all of it needs to be adjacent, so that's one. And then we know all of our summons have a trait, I'm sorry, a keyword on them of summoner. So I'm going to say that. Uh, and we also know this needs to be maxed out. So there is another function we can use called max. And I'm going to say max 1, comma, and then the count. And surges can't be kept, so I'm not going to click on that. At least I don't think it can. All right. Which they can use on the triggering damage. So yeah, I think that means it can't. And then the other thing we want to do is this spend one essence. If the triggering damage is from an ability that uses a power roll, the power roll gains an edge. So that we can also do where we will say add an additional cost modifier. We will call that focus fire. Well, what will we call this? What will be yeah, I guess we'll just call this focus fire. I don't actually know what our naming convention is, but we'll just copy in the description and the title can change whenever. So, oh, yeah, rules. I have no, it doesn't really, I don't have rules text. All right. So condition, that's not going to help us. What we want is a conditional statement. So the activation is like, should it always be checked, or should it never be checked? Should it always be checked? Meaning like never means it has to be manually checked. Condition means it should be available at certain points. The only thing I don't know is if the additional cost modifier actually observes this. But we're going to say it is ability is an option here, and it has subfields. An ability, well, what do we have here? What can we use? I might actually have to add a thing in here that says ability power roll, so that way it knows it's a power roll. But that's okay. We'll just leave this to always for now, because you presumably wouldn't click on it if it wasn't valid. And it gains an edge. So we will do roll mod, gain an edge. And that should be that. So let's, at the very least, put this to silver. Do our quick command. So we need to actually pick that in the builder. Quick command will do focus fire. Okay. And that was if I or an ally damage a creature. So let's just focus fire. Let's do focus fire. Yeah. I gained one surge because there's one minion around me, so that worked. Let me just put one more guy around me and see what happens. Still only one though. Okay. So it does. Okay, that's easy enough to figure out. Let's go back to our goblin script debugger. Let's do count nearby and then try this again. So so it knows it should be one because the max, the count nearby friends, actually isn't returning anything. So there's another really useful tool that we can use to figure out why this isn't working. We are going to go back to our quick command, our focus fire, and we are going to actually go to the goblin script input. That's the issue, which is this one right here. And we're going to say debug this goblin script, and it pops up this useful box for us to where it basically will sit here and wait for us to actually process this. So let's go back out. Okay, so why? Let's see, what does it think is happening here? It did do it. It knows that it's the summoner 1. And then so it's returning 1 of summoner. So the way the function max should work is that it's basically parentheses number comma number, and whichever one's the larger of the two is what it should take. So if we did sorry for the recording. Someone in chat just asked, like, is it the maximum function, not like pulling one first? And so just to dive into it, because I think it's a useful function to know how it works. If I just made this 3, max should just return 3, because it's going to say, is it the max of 1 or is it the max of 3? It will be really funny if it's going to make me a liar right now. Yeah, so it does 3, because that's the maximum. So the issue, what it seems, is that it's actually not counting the nearby. I wonder if... Maybe did I just spell summoner wrong? That's also very possible. I don't think I did, but maybe what we need to do. So we'll do count nearby friends, and we'll say within 1, comma, summoner. Oh my gosh, if I could just spell though. Here we go. See the bracket there. And now I wonder actually if what it is the Codex doesn't consider the same minion. Let's just see what happens here. And if this doesn't work, we're going to move on, because I think I might have to do some more. Yeah, I really don't know why that wouldn't. Well, I'll have to figure out why it's not working. For those in the chat, this is Denny, the lead dev, who's helping out. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to match the keyword that all summons have, all summoner summons have of summoner. And so, actually count it. Yep. Yeah, it says 1. Oh. Actually, okay, yeah. So it must just be this. What if I do count nearby creatures 1, comma, ally, comma, summoner. Nah, okay. Well, I will have to figure out why the count isn't. I bet you it's just because summoner is maybe a bad term to use. Maybe it needs to be like summon or something like that. Because summoner might be getting conflated with some other goblin script things that are just summoner. Um, but we'll figure that out later. Interesting. All right. So that is the formations. No. We already did formations. I am on quick command, so we need to do the next one. Halt. So halt is you have a triggered action. Um, the target starts their turn, moves, or is forced moved. You summon a signature minion in an unoccupied space adjacent to the target. If the target is forced moved into the minion, you can choose to take no damage from the collision instead of summoning a new minion you can command. Heh. I actually don't know if we can interrupt forced movement. Um, but that's okay. We can get most of this working. Sorry, just taking another bite of dinner here, y'all. So we're gonna go back to our summoner, back to quick command, and we're gonna add another option here. We are gonna add halt. Which is you order a minion to get in their way. And we are going to do another trigger display, right? We always want to have a trigger display for a trigger. This is called halt. The flavor text I'm going to paste in. This is indeed a triggered action. It has a range of our summoner's range. It is one creature. Yep, is the target. Has no cost, no resource cost. The trigger is the target starts their turn, moves, or is force moved. And the effect is you summon a signature. Sorry, just need to again fix the PDF copying. And there's a special portion as well, which I'll copy in there and add some markdown to it so that way the special is bold. So that way it appears correctly. Okay, so in special, instead of summoning a new minion, you can command one of your minions within distance to shift up to their speed towards a square adjacent to the target before any additional effects occur. This is going to be a little bit of a hard one, and by that I just mean we're probably only ever going to get this to like a bronze, maybe a silver status, because interrupting other people's actions is just really difficult to do in a way that feels really natural. So generally, we don't do it from like a coding backend perspective. Uh, we might change that obviously later on, but for right now, let's just get the basics of this implemented, and we'll leave a lot up to the director and players to really do together. So we're gonna add several triggers. So we're gonna add the first trigger, um, and we're gonna say it is they start their turn. All right, so we'll say halt when in combat. It's a prompt. Um, we're gonna use the you may summon a signature, summon um, unoccupied space adjacent to the target. Okay. There's no cost. It is just start of turn. It is going to be other creatures. Whenever another creature starts their turn, you should be given this prompt if you want to use it. The prompt is self. Yep, yep, yep. Or the target is on ourself, and we want to summon a minion. So you can only summon one. Yeah, you can only summon one. And for okay. Yeah, there's actually going to be quite a bit of this that doesn't quite work right, but I think some implementation's better than none. So you can only summon one. We're going to let you place it where you want within your summoner's range. In theory, for this, where we're at right now, it will be up to the player to make sure they're following the rules. Later on, we can add more robust support to make this be like really locked in. But for right now, I think this is good for base level implementation. And now we just need to do our signature summons, our creature set, and it matches the beast. And great. Okay. So now, if someone starts their turn, this will happen. You'll be able to summon a creature. And then, how are we going to help it so that way that well, no, this works because you would summon it right next to them, so that part works. The special is instead of summoning them, you can do a new one. We'll worry about that in a second. We're gonna add another like two more triggers. One will be for when a creature moves, and one will be for when they're force moved. So, actually, let's think about this. I am probably going to make the when a creature moves always manual. The reason we're going to do that is because a trigger that pops up every single time someone else moves is going to be irritating. You're going to get constant pings that this trigger is available to you, and I would find that frustrating immensely. So we are going to leave that to the judgment of the players. So I'm just going to make this create a manual version so that way you can do it whenever you need to. And then I'm going to create one that is for forced movement though. You know what I can do? Well, I can just copy this one and change its trigger to force moved. So now, whenever another creature, that's not us, when another creature is force moved, you can take this action to summon in a creature next to them. And then for the special portion, which is let's see, what does it say here? Instead of summoning a new minion, you can command one of your minions within distance to shift up to their speed. So the way we'll do that is we're actually going to go back into our trigger and edit it, and we're going to add a mode. And I think we'll do an ability variation where we just have well, what will we do here actually? I cannot remember what these look like. So we're going to do a second one because this is a normal, and we'll do special. And the special rules are, where are the special rules? Here we go, special. All right, so now that we have a mode for special, We can say that this mode has a separate ability, so we'll create a fork in the ability. So if we click this, it will not do anything else below it. We'll do this instead. So if you do this, you need to select one of your existing minions, right? So there's no costs. The targeting is going to be another creature within range of your summoner range, one of them, and it needs to be a minion, and the summoner of that minion needs to be uh, the caster, you. We'll just put this in here, although I don't think it's necessary. Okay. And what we'll do is when you target one of your minions, they will be able to, what does the rule say again? They will be able to shift up to their speed towards the creature. So we will say, we're going to use an invoked ability for that, right? We use invokes to cause like existing ability behaviors to happen. There's a lot of them. We're going to call a standard ability because I know that shift is already one of them. And the distance is walking speed, which is just an existing Goblin script uh, entry for how fast people can walk. Um, you'll notice that for this invoked ability, when I hit shift, it generated these input boxes. Certain invokes have them pre-built in. You can actually add these inputs yourselves. That's a pretty advanced feature, which we can show in a different video. But there are mechanisms so where you can pipe information into an invoked ability that's happening. Let's just say shift up to your speed to a square adjacent to the target. So now I only did that in start turn, didn't I? So let's actually delete this, copy our start turn, and change this again so that way it is forced moved. Awesome. Okay. All right, let's see what this looks like. So I have, oh, right. I have to actually pick that quick command. I now have halt. I now have halt here. So I'm going to manually trigger it so I can do normal, which just means I'm going to hit confirm and it will allow me to summon. So let's do another one. Yeah. Great. And if I do halt again and do special, see how it changes the targeting to now I hit special. Now I should select one of my minions. And I can shift up to your speed to a square adjacent to the target. So we'll just pretend the monarch is our target. There we go. So we'll call that good enough for halt for right now. I think we probably could get that the mechanism for it a little more advanced, but I think a bronze level implementation is like relatively okay for what we want to be doing to rapidly get the summoner out. I think there's two more quick commands. So let's take a look at those. So we have not yet. So that one ally receives enough damage to die or be destroyed. If the target is a minion, they must be the only minion remaining in their squad. The damage the target receives is reduced by an amount that leaves the target alive with 1 point of stamina. This one costs 3 essence. Did any of the other ones did? Okay. So yeah, this one we'll do is that we will add another option as a single feature. Let me go ahead and hide the PDF here. We will call this not yet. And I command you to not die. And we are going to add another trigger display. Its name is not yet. It does have a cost, which is 3. So we'll automatically pop that up here. I should probably call it the essence. So we'll show that in the display. There's no keywords. It is a triggered action. Its range is the summoner's range. It is not one creature. It is one ally. And it is command you to not die. The trigger is the target receives enough damage to die or be destroyed. And then there's effect text here. Going to add markdown to these so that way they bold correctly. So again, this is just informational. We still have to add an actual trigger for it to do something. So what we're going to do is we're going to edit the trigger. It's still called not yet. We're going to change it from self to allies because it doesn't count for self. We can leave it as always if we want. We will do a prompt because we want to make sure that like it's not forcing you to spend essence if you don't want to. And the prompt can be prevent ally from dying or being destroyed. So sometimes with these prompts, I will use exactly the language that's in the PDFs, and sometimes I'll change it slightly so it's more worded as a prompt than anything else. So it's clearer to the user what's being asked of them. I need to put it in a resource cost here. The distance is our summoner range. The trigger is take damage, and since the subject is allies, whenever allies take damage, this should be offered. It will only be offered if we have 3 resources or more, 3 heroic resources. And when that happens, what I need to do is all the other triggers we've done, we've left this exactly the same, right? It's always been myself. What I want to do is change it to subject. Subject means it is specifically this trigger is going to target the subject of the triggering effect. The subject is the ally. It's what we picked right up here. So when an ally takes damage, they are the subject of this trigger. And so we're saying the effects that I'm about to implement should target that subject. And what do we need to do? So when they receive enough damage to die or be destroyed, so what we need to do is add a condition here because we don't want this to constantly trigger every time they take damage if they're not going to die, right? So what we want to do is we're going to say they take damage, and we're going to double check the Goblin script formula documentation because I need to make sure I use the right. So we're going to say the subjects. So we're going to say the subject stamina the subject's stamina minus the damage, which is the damage taken. I'm going to wrap these in parentheses so it knows to just process these together, is less than or equal to, I guess I can't say 0, can I? Because for hero allies, they would not die at 0. I think we have a dying value. Yeah. So it's the number. Wait. I'm actually not sure what the best one to put in here is. We're going to use dying for right now, because that should generally work. So then what we want to do is they're dying. We want to, with a trigger like this, we're not technically actually going to prevent damage being done to them. There's no way for the Codex, I mean, there are ways for the Codex to know that, like, the damage being dealt to them would cause them to die. Um, but we're actually just going to heal them instead. And we will heal them for an amount equal to the negative. Wait, I know there's a way to do this, and I am forgetting now. The value of their stamina, so the subject's stamina, is either 0 or negative. So, this is math. Bad at math. The subject stamina, the difference between 0 and this. So, I think I'm actually gonna have to look up what this needs to be, because it's just a math formula, right? I just need to do, like, whatever the value of their stamina currently is, and the difference between that and 0, heal us that amount plus 1 to be over 1, but I just can't. My brain is not computing what that needs to be, so we're just gonna leave this here for now. Let's do shield real quick. And I think we might end our stream after this, because it's bad when you get to the point where you're just like, I don't remember how to implement these things. We'll call this shield. We'll just go ahead and copy this bad boy straight out. And I realize I probably need to, let's see, what does shield do? The target is targeted by a strike. If one or more of your minions is adjacent to the target and is within distance of the strike, they become the new target of the strike. And instead of commanding an existing minion, you can summon a signature minion, and they become the target of the strike. Okay. So we're going to do our, once again, we're going to do a trigger display. This is called shield. There is no cost. It does use a triggered action. Its distance is your summoner's range. It is going to be self or one ally. The flavor text is you call upon a minion. And then the trigger is the target is targeted by a strike. And the effect is, yeah, we'll just copy this. Okay, so we're going to add markdown here as well to make sure this is bolded. Yeah, that looks okay. So know what we're going to do. We are going to add a power roll trigger. I'm going to have to copy a lot of this info again. So shield. The rules are we're going to use the target by a strike. You can dampen the damage or dampen the blow using a minion. We'll say that for now. This is it does cost a trigger. The target is self or an ally. It only affects you guys when you are targeted by a strike and within range of your summoner range. And then, I need to enter the description here. Yeah, just that guy for the description. Okay, so now what we're going to do is this is a pretty common scenario where you need to select a new target. So the way this works is that this is, remember, in our power roll trigger, this beginning portion is like what's offered in the roll dialog. This is what determines if it's offered. Once you click on it, this portion is what is actually listed as the modifier and like how it changes things. So we are going to, let's see, if the minion is adjacent to the target, oh, I guess I should add some. We should say, oh, I actually can't put, what I would do is I would need to say that count the number of nearby friends and make sure there's a minion near them. Otherwise, don't offer this. But since I have to fix that for the other ability as well, I'm not going to use it, so we'll leave it blank for now. Let's set this to always. And we're going to say change the target. And the retarget range is the same as the triggering ability, right? Because it needs to be within distance. And the retarget filter they must be a minion, right? And the summoner of that minion must be, let's look up our formula documentation real quick to make sure we use the right naming convention, is the trigger, right? That's triggering the modification. I find the language slightly confusing, but I think it's triggerer. What I need to do here too is that I have to say target actually here. So target dot is a minion, and the target's summoner is the triggerer. Are there any other devs in here who might, off the top of their heads, remember if triggerer is the right description? Or non-devs? I don't know if anyone knows. All right, cool. We'll stick with this. We do want all of the effects to go. There's no extra damage, so we'll say confirm in a second. There is an additional cost modifier, which is that you can instead summon a creature, right? So let's make that happen. Uh, Here we go. And what we're going to do with this is all of this stuff doesn't really need to be set because the cost modifier, everything previous to it also happens. The only thing we need to do is say, oh, why do I add has trigger before ability is what I want to happen. Uh, Let me just double check that I don't want to actually use a power roll addition. Yeah, I'm actually not sure. So we are going to just say confirm, and we'll come back to not yet and shield another time because I think that I might be done for today. But I think we've made some good progress. Next time we really like, what do we have left before we actually get into the circles and their portfolios? Um, we have, let's see if I can make this a little bit bigger for y'all. We have the circle features, which will be under the actual circle selection. We've already done Summoner Strike, Strike 4 me, Call Forth, Minion Bridge. We need to do the features, or we've done the formations, the quick commands. All right, I think we'll be getting into making the minions work for the first echelon, at least. And then we'll get into our summoner abilities because there's a 5 essence one. Where are the 3 essence ones? Well, find those later, but we'll actually get into the abilities for level 1. Cool. Does anyone have any questions, stuff they want explained in further detail, etc., etc.? Happy to cover anything. 100%. So what you'll do is you will go right up here to Codex and say create module, and you'll create a new module. Uh, and it will scan your game for content. This is going to take a really long time in our dev game because we have so much content in the dev game. But what this will do, it will search your game for new content that's different than the base. And then it will give you like a list of check boxes to say add this, add this, add this. So all you'll do is you'll just click on like the Beast Heart class and you can actually export it as a module, which you can either make private or public. If it's public, it will be listed for other people to download. Maybe I shouldn't have clicked on this because it is a beast in the dev game. Um, so and if you make it private, it will make like a URL kind of not even a real URL. It'll be like your name. Oh, here's what it looks like. There's all these check boxes for like different things I want to implement. So these are like maps, right? If I scrolled down, there would be creatures and classes, etc., etc. Uh, Come on, Ooh, getting a not responding. Uh, Come on, here we go. So then, if you made it public, it would be available here, like everyone would see it. If you had it private, you could type in your code, and like then you'd be able to download it. So like that's how you would share it with friends. That's how you would share it with your own games, right? Because modules are specific to the game that they're in, so you could export them for use in your other games. Of course. And just for, I realized I forgot to rephrase the question for the recording. Someone just asked, like, how can you export classes like this, like say the Beast Heart, for other people to utilize? Yeah, absolutely. So the question is like, where will these recordings be? They are going to be posted to YouTube, and then we'll share them here in the chat. The problem is that the very first one we did, the audio never got picked up. It's just a 2 hour long video with no explanation. So I have to do a voiceover for it. And the one that we did the other day, the audio is garbage. Um, the it kept on gating, where like every time I spoke, it would have like a weird thing. We have posted that in the chat, but I don't think we're going to list it on YouTube. It's like privately listed until I do another voiceover on it. So I'm using a new recording software. We will see how good it is, and then this will be posted to YouTube. Great. Ask as many questions as you want. Mm. So yes, there is. Admittedly, I am not the dev with the best knowledge of the journals, to be honest. Um, but if you want to like use the journal to, uh, oh, yeah, please do. Hmm. Yeah. No, much appreciated because I was like, I know that you can do it. Having all right. Has anyone else got other questions for us? Otherwise, we'll end our stream. All right. Well, we'll probably stream again. I don't maybe 2 days from now. And we'll keep on going. Soon, I think we'll be getting into monsters, which I think are a really good source of just seeing how lots of different abilities can be implemented. Unfortunately, the summoner is just very complicated, so it's slow going. All right, y'all. Well, I hope you have a lovely evening or morning, day, whatever time zone you're in. And we will see y'all later. Thanks for swinging on by.